Yo, people, welcome back to the channel. You know, it's mad, isn't it? It's like I'm like the London buses. I don't do content for like ages and ages and ages, and then suddenly I do two in one day. Like, like how's that analogy to the London buses? But you know what I mean. Like, you wait for one and then two comes along at the same time. That's what it's supposed to be. But people, you're very welcome to Pre-Match Khanage. I haven't done a preview to a game. I don't know, man. I hate doing previews to games, but this one felt a bit different. And I've got a sense of excitement about this one. And the season feels different. Life feels different. Everything feels different. So I thought I'd do a little preview. Of course, I got Conroy joining me. Conroy to give me all things Liverpool perspective and possibly some Spurs insight as well to give your opinion. Thanks, Conroy, for joining us.
Yeah, pleasure. To be honest, I was managed to get in a bit earlier than I thought I would, so I was like, I'll jump on. I think, to be honest, guys, I kept thinking it was Sunday all week.
So did I.
All week, and then I realised today at my last meeting of the day that it's 5:30 tomorrow. So to be honest, it's kind of setting up a spectacular Saturday because that's going to be. I know we're going to break it down, but I think it's going to be potentially be an absolute cracker of a game. So that should make the weekend.
100%. People in the chat, you already know what time it is, man. Come on, as you come in, smash the like. I know I haven't been doing the content, but back to brother, innit? Come on. I'm doing content. I'm trying for you guys, but you guys got to motivate me. Hit the likes, you know what I mean? Share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Total Clip says, big up Grizz, Conroy, and special guest Toby. Guys, slap up the likes early. He already knows. One of the reasons why I had to do a preview because like this man's been smiling at me. You know, his smile annoys me. Like, no. I love his smile. He's got the most warm smile. It's a beautiful smile. He's a beautiful human being. But he knows on match days, Liverpool Spurs or Spurs Liverpool, the war hat comes on. And even though we're such good buddies, it's war. But I had to do a preview of him. We done a big 6-1, which is it's all bravado on there. I thought we're gonna come on, have a nice cup of tea or whatever drink Toby's having on a Friday night. I dare not ask him and have a little chat. Toby, welcome back to the channel, my brother.
It's good to be back, bro. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, man, I'm at least happy that this time around I'm coming onto your channel in sort of happy circumstances because like the last. Basically every other time I've come on your channel since you launched it, it's been to sort of talk about the doom and gloom of Spurs. So this is actually like a new feeling for me coming on here and actually talking about a team that I'm actually trying to look forward to seeing us sort of like go toe to toe with you on. So yeah, it's good, man. It's good.
100%, man. It's all about vibes, isn't it? It's all about good vibes, how your team makes you feel. We both teams kind of had rough seasons last season for different reasons. Your expectations wouldn't have been as mad as Liverpool's were because we were coming back off the quad hype. We missed out narrowly on won the other 2 trophies. Most clubs would say that's a mad successful season, but the way it ended, we were hoping to carry that on. You guys were, I think, just pretty much turmoil, I believe, at the last season. You had Conte, right? Remind us at the start of last season what your expectations would have been.
So the start of last season, my expectations was to go one step further, try and finish third.
Yes.
And make a good run of the trophy, try and win the League Cup. That was my expectation with Conte, and it went completely
pear-shaped
way, the opposite way, man. It was crazy.
Big up the panel, got some good ones on today. Welcome to Khanage, Tobs. Yeah, man, people giving him the warm welcome. I hope, you know what I mean, Spurs give us the warm welcome tomorrow as well. But Conroy, I'm right, aren't I? Like in terms of saying both clubs last season went through turmoil. Spurs lost their manager or sacked their manager. We just lost our identity, I think, more than anything else. Liverpool were unrecognizable. Spurs different, but we'll touch upon what Spurs lost and what Toby thinks they've got back. But we most definitely lost our identity, our energy, and our legs. Last season was pretty much a season to forget, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And well, no, I know so. We spoke about it every Sunday. Toby might not be aware, but we used to start calling the Sunday Red Fellas a therapy session towards the end because the show was definitely better than our performances, to be honest. We probably had a far better performance on our show than in Liverpool last season, especially in midfield. I think, it's been surprising so far this season, Grizz, how quick the midfield has started to perform there. And we've mentioned our concerns in the defensive midfield position. That's not disappeared, but we have had concerns there. And I think, considering it's quite like a rebuilt midfield, it shows you the difference. And I think last season as well, I know you spoke about it quite a lot, that I think our identity under Klopp, sometimes there's a false narrative that it's always been heavy metal football. That's not always the case, but it's definitely been all about gegenpressing. It's vital. And I think Klopp showed last year as well that to be perfectly honest, when we tried to adapt, we weren't very successful at it. Let's be perfectly honest. Tried 4-2-3-1s, tried certain tweaks, and it just didn't work. So I think going back this year, we've actually got players in who can fit what Klopp has had success with at Liverpool. It's a formula that's worked, so why change it? And we're doing well. But again, Toby might not be aware, we're not going to come in here and be like naive. Liverpool have started some games very slow. And
he knows that. He knows that. He actually started on me or the rest of the lads at Big Six started on me for not being as, but you've explained it well. The real football guys that watch Liverpool week in, week out know that we are not perfect. Far from it yet, right, Conrad?
Definitely. I think it's like the good parts of these games have been brilliant. And like anything, see when you win and you maybe even rival fans just watch the highlights. But there has been parts of these games where we haven't started the greatest. I mean, the last few results, it's been 3-1. So you're conceding goals straight away anyway. I'm not being too just on that, but there has been moments where we're not perfect yet by any means. So I think I'd say to you in Sunday, Grizz, it's like we've gave ourselves a great platform to crack on this season, but it's like performance-wise can still get to a next level, 100%, especially consistency. Because even like the Wolves game we spoke about, like we could have been 2-3-0 down in that game. Like Neto was absolutely having the time of his life against us. And to be perfectly honest, if Cunha is Son, or pick another player, Kulusevski this weekend, where anyone gets a header from that chance, there's a good chance they're going to finish that. So you've got to look at it from both sides. But as I say, it's on the general thing and taking Spurs into consideration as well. I think we're both in quite a good place where it's like I said to Chris on Sunday, we're enjoying what we're seeing. Ultimately, there's only one winner in every competition, but you watch football because you want to enjoy what you're seeing. And I have to say, I think Spurs, being from Scotland, I think seeing what Postecoglou has done as well, it's obviously still a small sample size. It's quite refreshing to see, to be honest, because there's always this kind of, maybe not arrogance, but a case of, can you come in and have an instant mark? You saw the same with De Zerbi when he came. Well, a lot of pundits saying it's not going to happen. And I think, to be perfectly honest, so far, even the last weekend, when you had certain people saying Arsenal are probably going to batter Spurs, Spurs can't go toe-to-toe with Arsenal. I think Spurs finished with more possession. It's not all about possession, but what I mean is it's like that's a statement in itself.
100%.
For both teams, it's a good space, to be honest. And you need to enjoy it because football changes very quickly. So, and to be honest, Toby, from a personal note, I am sympathetic towards you, mate, because every neutral fan saw Spurs just need to get, a top manager in and win a trophy. But you've seen with Mourinho, you've seen with Conte, and me and Grizz, massive fans of Conte before he came in, like really was. And
I am as well. Grizz knows that I'm a big fan.
Yeah, and see what he done with Inter. That Italian team, I think, at the Euros is kind of underrated as well. But it just doesn't work out like that. Football is not that simple. So I think it's funny how it works out. But I think right now, both
teams are in a good place. Absolutely. Checkers Dave's in the building. Says evening, lads. The community man, Conroy and Antonio. Yeah, he don't want to know. He don't want to be known as Antonio anymore, man. Allow him. He's Antobio now, right? Mohammed, a good old friend of mine from Wolverhampton. Big up, Mohammed. I recognize your picture. It's a genuine question. Tobes has a twin brother? Question mark. Who supports Arsenal?
Yes, yes, on both counts. Yes,
he absolutely does, guys. Check out his brother on all things Arsenal as well. But we're about Liverpool and we're about Spurs right now. Guys, coming up to 200 of you guys in here as well. Smash up the likes if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. Toby,
yeah,
you had to get rid of Conte. There was no way. No way you could continue with him come the summer. Oh, sorry, just one quick super chat before we get dragged behind with it. Tony Stark says on Saturday the community man joins the Mud Brothers community. Yo, calm down. Grizzly Bear comes Paddington. Watch yourselves. Briano Messi is fit again.
Talking about Brian Hill. I don't know why he's calling him that. I don't know why.
Okay, well, Toby's going to
Crazy.
elaborate on that very soon, Tony. But I'm not looking to join no Mud Brothers quite yet. But Tobes, as Conroy says, Postecoglou, we had a few discussions about him. I think it's fair to say you wasn't 100% on him, but that's normal. You know, he was in Celtic. He's done a great job, but how many people have done great jobs at Celtic and Rangers, right? So it's not arrogance. It's kind of you want to see more. But talk to me where you was and tell me at what point you thought, okay, you know that feeling when you say, okay. Yeah. Tell me what point, which game or which incident or which tactics that you thought he's employed and you thought, okay.
So like for me, you're right. Like I wasn't really keen on Ange Postecoglou, and people can go back on the Big Six episodes and you'll see it. I was actually quite annoyed that Ange was the name that Hugh kept mentioning when I felt like there were managers out there like Nagelsmann who was available and sort of fits the style of play that Spurs want to look for. And I said, okay, cool, fine. You don't want Nagelsmann? Then they tried to go for Arne Slot, right? I didn't really know much on Arne Slot, but when I did my research on Arne Slot, I said, all right, cool. He's done good work with Feyenoord, plays the style of football that we want. Fair enough. I can get on board with Arne Slot. All for us to fumble Arne Slot. So then when we went to Ange Postecoglou, it wasn't even like a thing where I thought like, like he's a bad manager. Like from what I gathered, he clearly had something about him to go to Celtic and make the impact he did in such a short space of time. But my concern wasn't to do with Ange Postecoglou. It was more to do with how difficult it is for me to sort of take stock in what a manager's done in the SPFL, right? Like I can't just go off that. Do you get what I'm saying?
Of course, I get it.
Celtic or Rangers week in, week out. Like I've seen managers make a mockery of that league and come to this league and they've literally been obliterated, right? Like the Prem is ruthless. And then when I look, because Ange's not a young guy, he's fairly old. And when I look at his other stints, right, he managed in Japan, managed in Australia and stuff. Like, again, I don't even want to be disrespectful, but like, because I know Arsene Wenger came from Japan, but I don't watch leagues. Do you get what I'm saying? And the strength of these leagues is nowhere near comparable to the strength of the Premier League. So I was apprehensive. I really was apprehensive because I just couldn't gauge what level of manager Spurs were going to get when there were managers out there that were more of a certain thing. Like they may not be elite, but they're a known quantity to me, right? But when it changed, for me, it changed pretty much in pre-season. I'll be real. It changed pretty much in pre-season.
Okay.
Right?
But the way he set up or the way, what was it?
So it's a bunch of things. So first and foremost, the football ideology, right? So at the time in which I was having it out with Hugh back in March, I didn't really do my research on his football. When it was clear that he was going to be our manager, I actually said, you know what, fine, let me do my research on this guy. When I did my research on this guy, I'm like, hang on a minute. The guy actually sets his teams up good. Like when you look at the way he plays with the inverted fullbacks, high pressing game, trying to squeeze the opposition high up the pitch as well, and just trying to build out from the back as well. So it seemed as if, like, from a principal perspective, he ticked the box as the type of manager that I would like to see at Spurs and what the club would like to see. Second, in pre-season, the quickness in which he was able to sort of implement his style on our team. And as you know, with our team, we had, and we still have quite a few misfits. We have guys who just lack in technical quality, just aren't good enough. And I'm seeing Spurs. So I remember our first pre-season game, we played West Ham. People will cuss Spurs saying, oh, we lost the game 3-2. But I watched the game from start to finish and the performance was ridiculous. That we absolutely, I'm talking, and people say preseason, total dominance.
Yeah, you can. It's mad. You don't have to look at the score. You don't. Sometimes you see the bigger picture. I said it the other day. I watched Liverpool for the first half against the Liverpool reserve team against who did we play the other day, Conroy, in the League Cup just yesterday? Leicester, and we were losing 1-0 at half time, and I was like, I'm so enjoying this. We're losing. It's a bunch of kids and reserves, but we're playing so good. So you saw a new sense of urgency. What's the word? Energy.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like it was just energetic performance, bravery to sort of play passes that we wouldn't have played, and also players being put in positions where they can influence games the most. The guy was just doing things that excited me. And then when you looked at his post-match conferences as well, right? The way he spoke on the Harry Kane situation, the way he prioritized young players, like spoke on players like Papi Matar. I remember after the West Ham game, spoke highly of Sarr. This is a guy who I've wanted Conte to play for months. Conte didn't want to give him a look in. And now this manager comes in, he's going to give him an opportunity. Destiny Udogie wasn't even at the club for 5 weeks, but he said, you know what, you're my number one left back. He didn't want to F about with the old guard. And that's another thing as well. Like managers, when they come in, they sometimes have a tendency to rely upon players who have been here long enough, even though those players may not necessarily be good enough. This guy said, no, I'm not doing that. He put in the new goalkeeper straight away. He put in the 20-year-old left back straight away. He put in Pedro Porro into right back, even though he's a right wing back. He put in the 22-year-old centre back straight away. Like he's giving guys confidence and freedom to go and play their stuff. So at this point in time, there's not really much that he's done wrong at Spurs. Like, I really like seeing the impact he's had. It makes me feel kind of shitty for being a bit too dismissive of him, because like he's actually been a breath of fresh air. And you know me, when I love hard. I'm a passion merchant, and this guy, he's really been like a big positive influence on Spurs. So for me, he's been fantastic so far, man.
Conroy, he talks about, Toby's mentioned passion merchant, breath of fresh air, energy, lovable, likable. Conroy, he reminds me of a certain German that walked in 7 years ago, or was it 8 years ago now, to Liverpool Football Club. Yes, higher profile.
8 years ago.
8 years ago. Yes, higher profile manager. Ange comes from Scotland, Japan, whatever. But in terms of the media darling for the first period, like Klopp was accused of being the media darling when he came in. Every neutral was like, yo, this guy's fun. This guy would like to go for a drink with this guy. This guy looks refreshing. He took over an absolute crackpot of a Liverpool team. It was probably worse than the Spurs squad. I don't know, Toby might beg to differ. But look, that's not the point.
It wasn't. The Liverpool squad was worse than the Spurs squad.
Yeah, so there you go. But that's not the point. The point is they were both bad. Both managers had huge, great jobs. And what I'm seeing from Ange is very similar to Klopp. He got the players involved and believing straight away. Do you remember even in Klopp's first game, he picked people like Jordan Ibe, and there was Lucas Leiva suddenly had a prominent role in the team. Joe Allen, things like that. I think Adam Lallana suddenly had a new lease of life for a little while. Yeah. Do you see similarities, or am I just being nice and kind because Toby's here? Because I see similarities.
I think the similarities. I think Ange Postecoglou's had to work like for a longer time before he's hit the spotlight, though. Because I bear in mind, mine's Klopp done well. You know, got them back up from relegation, back down. But then Dortmund to Liverpool, they're two big jobs. Ange Postecoglou's had to really, I'd say the longer way. It's not that Klopp was a shortcut, but he's had to really graft. Like Toby's mentioning the kind of like the way English folks. Bear in mind, the SPFL had a certain type of arrogance when he came. They're like, who is this guy? He can't even pronounce his name. And then he goes and just, does what he does. And it's like, I think he's got that a bit about him, to be perfectly honest. I think he looks at football about like what football is. It's not the be all and end all. And I think you get that when you hear him talk, like even like in relation to 40 million for Maddison being a bargain. He does bring people and journalists back down to earth. I think, from that type of point of view, and I think that actually helps him because I think people are he's relatable to
100.
people who actually watch football, not the people who are kind of like in the bubble constantly. So I think that's very refreshing. I think there's a lot of similarities with Klopp though, because Klopp's a bit like that as well when he relates to actual real world issues. I think there is definitely similarities. I just think Postecoglou's obviously done it a bit of a different way. And there is slight difference to his style of play in the sense pressing's the same, but Klopp's now is doing inverted fullbacks, but for a long time that was not the case. Postecoglou's done that for the last 5 years. I mean, Greg Taylor, playing for Kilmarnock, literally couldn't get a game for Celtic at fullback, put him as inverted fullback, and I think he was in the team of the year. So it's like, and it may be similar. I know Emerson Royale's not played since, but I think he had a few good games as well, playing that way. So to me, there's a few differences, but there's a lot of similarities. And I do think, though, they both share that enthusiasm for the game, understand that they do have a job that a lot of people would want. And I also think this is a key point, and I was saying this, I meant to say to you, Toby, at the start as well. I think the biggest problem Spurs have had is they've had people in that job who think they're better than the club, that they're doing the club a favour. I think Postecoglou feels privileged to be in that position, and
Good
I think
point.
that's why everyone's getting on. And I think Klopp as well was privileged to be at Liverpool, and I think when you look at Mourinho, you look at Conte. I'm doing you a favour, and I think it's maybe a bit extreme, but I think you having self-worth in your team is probably the most important thing, because then it's like you can all be united. And I don't think that's a surprise. Like even last weekend, like there seems to be, you know better, Toby, there seems to be, the fan base seems to be quite united together, or at least the majority of them, which
that's
everything.
Yeah. That's the first thing you need to do, didn't it, Tobes? He needed to unite your fan base and the squad and just get the feel-good factor back. And as you were saying, you felt it in pre-season.
Yeah, 100%.
And the way he dealt with Harry Kane, I forgot to mention that. You mentioned it. The way he dealt with the Harry Kane situation, I thought was fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. Like he's always been planning like life with or without Harry Kane. Like I think from day dot, he's made it like a team ethic, right? And the way he's been able to sort of harmonize the team and also unite the fan base is actually pretty top notch so far, man. Because we've been a fractured fan base pretty much since Pochettino left. And some Spurs fans might disagree, but it's just my observation. When Jose Mourinho came in, there were lots of Spurs fans who wanted him, but there were lots of Spurs fans, even like myself, who didn't want him.
Yep.
Conte, when he came in, there were a majority of Spurs fans, in my opinion, who wanted him, but there were also Spurs fans who didn't want him because they knew the style of play he played and they wanted something different, right? So Ange Postecoglou coming in, there was people who didn't want him. There was people who did want him. There were people who were on the fence. But since he's come in, like the way he speaks, the way he talks about our players, the way he talks about our club, the way he respects the fans' opinions and our input into each game, and the way he talks about like dealing with the players that come in, like everything he's done so far, and the way he's able to just speak, like he's a very, 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 very good speaker, and like he's done everything in a way in which it's almost impossible to not like want to get behind what he's trying to do first.
And he's got that kind of personality and what we just discussed. I don't know if we discussed it on the Big Six, but I don't know if we discussed it on Red Fellas. It buys you time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like it buys you, like people, even if they want to kill you and slaughter your tactics, and even if you do lose a game or draw a game, you feel as though, this guy, he's a nice guy. Just give him a little bit more time. Just give him a little bit. Just give him another chance. Whereas if he's a nasty, obnoxious kind of guy, making silly comments, fighting the media, like you lot wanted Conte gone straight. Like once he started losing up, because he was coming across saying some bitter things. The fact that he was a legacy manager before obviously held great weight, but it just didn't come across nicely.
It didn't.
I'm gonna take you back to some of the obviously what you needed to do straight away, right? Tobes, was getting the transfer market. Yeah, you knew that, we knew that, everyone knew you needed to get into the transfer market. The last time you sold big was Gareth Bale, if I remember right.
Before we sold Harry Kane, yeah.
So you sold Harry Kane this time round. Was you, be honest with me, was you happy at the close of the transfer window with the business that you've done? And we're going to go through some of them.
So was I happy with the overall business? No. But was I happy with some of the players that came in? Yeah, I was. So I'll explain. The reason why I wasn't happy with the overall business is because I felt like there were parts of our team that were like a non-negotiable for me for us to address this summer. And I feel like one or two of those positions we didn't do. So like centre-back, it was imperative that Spurs signed 2 first-team ready centre-backs. We only signed the 1. In the forward line, it was imperative that Spurs sign, in my opinion, like a 1v1 type winger to play in this Ange Postecoglou system, or we sign a striker, a number 9, to compete with Richarlison. We did neither. We signed Brennan Johnson, who he's not a bad player. Brennan Johnson, he's not a bad player, but he's not a player that I wanted at Spurs, and I feel like we could have done better for that money. But he's here now, so I'll get behind him, and I hope that he can be a success for Ange. And I feel like Ange Postecoglou, if anything, I'm looking at him now like if this doesn't work, it's on you. But yeah, I just felt like we could have done better in the attacking reinforcements that we brought in, and we could have done better in the defense. But in terms of the actual personnel that we brought in, really happy with.
Well, let's start.
Yeah.
The one that you had already. Okay, explain what the situation was with Destiny Udogie. He had already been signed, but sent out on loan to Udinese for the remainder of that season, and then he started this season.
So he was already at Udinese, and we signed him last summer, so summer 2022. The reason why we couldn't have him last summer is because the only way we were able to get him last summer is if we agreed to loan him back to Udinese for 1 season. Right. We wouldn't have sold him. So so he came into the team. So we always knew that he'd be coming in to the team this summer. But for Vicario, for instance, we wanted David Raya. We put a 20 million bid down for David Raya. They knocked it back because they wanted more money. But we wanted to try and get in a goalkeeper before pre-season started. And I think the club knew that with David Raya, because they didn't want to pay Brentford asking price. I think that negotiation would have been like a couple of weeks to try and pull them to try and meet in the middle. So they said, you know what, F this, we're not going to wait. And they went for Vicario. So they used like data analytics to try and sign Vicario. And I must admit, with Vicario, I wouldn't say I was happy because I wanted David Raya, but I was calm with the club signing Vicario, because when your club's linked to these players, you do your research, and the research I've done on him, the guy was highly rated in Italy. Like
the reports were good. Every scouting report was good. Yeah,
he was highly rated in Italy, and a lot of the noise around him was that this is a goalkeeper that's very much on the up, even though he's 26 years old. So I said, you know what, fine. If he's rated there, and statistically, I think his numbers were quite good. He had like one of the highest save percentages in Serie A last season. So I said, you know what, I'll give him a chance, innit? Like, I'm not going to hang my hat on him just yet. I'm going to give you a chance. That's the very least I can do. If he bangs, he bangs. If he flops, whatever, innit? But he's come out and he's been fantastic. He's been fantastic for us. Kulusevski, we had to make that one permanent.
Yeah, that's old. Yeah,
happy with that. Same for Pedro Porro. But I think the standouts for me were.
Well, let's touch upon Mickey van der Ven first and foremost. So look, Udogie has been a revelation. We've discussed Udogie on the Big Six. We both think he's got potential to be one of the best left backs in the world. You know, he's that good. Everything has been so positive about him. But Mickey van der Ven, and the reason why I want to touch upon Mickey van der Ven was, Conroy, we were linked with Mickey van der Ven. We've discussed Mickey van der Ven on a couple of the shows, and profile-wise and everything-wise. We even saw the videos of him being the quickest centre-back we've ever seen in our lives and all of that business. Do you remember the videos we saw on Twitter? Conroy, we were kind of surprised that we didn't end up going for him because we thought he's properly suited. But I think the price got a bit too much for us in the end, and we'll come on to what Toby thinks of him. But was you surprised that we didn't go for him and then Spurs did?
Yeah, possibly. I think he probably looks at Spurs though and thinks, you know, game time. Well, Van Dijk's going to be there for a couple of years, and Khanage is kind of your starter right back, you know, barring any injuries. So I think he looks at that. I've actually been very impressed. I've seen a few people last week to say he was going to get absolutely done with the way they play when maybe the wingers go down the corners of the pitch, expose him. I thought he'd done very well. I think he looks a very confident player as well, and to play the way Postecoglou does, you want to play, it's important. I've been very impressed though. I think actually, I might be wrong, because we're still in a small sample size, but I think that might look to be a bargain, because ultimately between CDMs and centre backs and now, nothing's really a guarantee, and there's not a massive commodity. I think he looks good. It's maybe one we'll regret going forward, but I just think the game time would be a big thing for him. 22 years old, and I think it's a good sign. I have to say as well, just a small point, because we're not going to talk about it too much, but see Solomon, Toby, see from your point of view, I only seen him a little bit. It's not much for Spurs, but I've seen him a few times for Fulham. I didn't realise it was a free transfer. I actually think, I might be wrong, but it seems that it's a good gamble either way, because you're not going to lose anything.
Yeah, I think with the Solomon signing, again, with Solomon, it's not that like, again, I didn't really want Solomon, but I didn't mind the signing because it's free, right? He's one of them ones where I don't think he's a bad player, but I feel like when we're adding attackers into our team, like, they need to try and take us up another notch. But that being said, Solomon is firmly a rotation piece, and I can't really be mad at Spurs signing a decent rotation option. So that's what he is for me. So that signing is whatever, like, it's calm. He's a decent signing, and the games he's played, to be fair, when he comes off the bench, he looks bright. He looks like he's someone who can
makes an impact. Yeah, can make an impact.
Very quick feet. Yeah. Got 2 assists against Burnley. So yeah, man, if he can come in and do that here and there, get 1 goal here, get 2 goals here, that's calm with me, man. I think with Mickey van der Ven, again, I didn't really know much on him, but I did as much research as I could, and it looked like he was a good centre back. And most importantly, it looked like he was a young, dynamic, and technically sound centre back. That's what our team's been missing as a profile for yonks. We lack centre backs who have the agility, have the ability to play in the high line, and have the technical quality to actually receive the ball under pressure. And
it's madness, right, Tobes? If you compare what he's replaced in Davis, right, left-footed, left-sided centre back. Davis was scared to play in a high line. Not physically intimidating, not particularly quick, not slow, but not particularly quick, right, and all of that. And you've replaced him with a 6 foot plus beast. Liverpool fans will know how quick he is, because, as I said, we scouted him a lot and we were very interested in him. The profile couldn't be more different, right? And then you obviously add to that, you had issues at left back. You didn't know who to play at left back, right? And now you've got a certified left back and a certified centre back. It just gives you that balance, that foundation that you guys wanted, right? And we're going to go on to the X factors, but just that too, you must have been beaming already.
Yeah, bro. Like, I remember initially when we were in talks for Mickey, it was around 30 million euros fee, and I said, yeah, I'm calm with that. Sign him, get him signed, and go to the next one. Like, we need 2 centre backs. I was like, that was my energy. Get him done. Get
another one. Right? Yep.
Yeah. So obviously we didn't get another one, and the fee ended up being close to 50 million euros, which was around like 43 million pounds. But that's with the add-ons in total package. And I saw some Spurs fans complaining about the price, and I just said, why are you complaining? Why are you complaining? I don't understand. We've been wanting this club to try and sign players to try and take us up another level. And if the club believe that this is a guy that's going to take us up another level, you should be behind that. So for
Davis, Dyer, Langley, like, you were crying out for upgrade.
Bro, guys who couldn't move.
Yeah.
Langley was a snail. Dyer got nosebleeds playing that high. The amount of times, and we'll talk on this fixture, you remember Eric Dyer against you guys at our ground last season. You remember him against you guys at Anfield. The guy is just painfully below the level. So for us so when you look at our back line now, right, Porro was signed in January, Romero was signed in 2021, but Romero suffered last season, 1, because he was playing bad, but 2, because he didn't have a partner to complement him well enough. And then 3, we had Lloris behind them, who was completely washed and was just turning over possession and just putting balls into the net. So where we've been able to improve on our goalkeeper, to find a new goalkeeper who's younger, much more solid, much more comfortable on the ball, a left centre back who is younger, faster, much more solid on the ball, and helps us with the recovery on his side, and left back who, again, younger, stronger, much more technically composed. It completely changes
Revamps your whole thing.
our defense.
But I think it's fair to say that gave you the foundation. But what I want to speak about next, guys, there's 300 of you guys in here. Please hit that like button if you're enjoying the chat. You're probably thinking, how's Toby and Grizz having a normal football conversation?
It wasn't like this yesterday.
Yeah, without walking with each other. But this is what we do, man. We can chat football when we get serious. Conroy, I'm going to let you start on this topic because I know you're a huge fan of this fella, and obviously Toby's going to want to wax lyrical about him. This guy. I think this guy is probably close to, if not in the conversation, 100% in the conversation of signing of the season. I said it at the time. I thought it was a snip. Was it 40 million, Tobes?
Yeah, 45 million.
Yeah.
45 million total package, yeah.
So, Conroy, the fees that are going around these days, right, with quality of player, with class of player, 26-year-old, probably peak of his career. The fact that he got relegated with Leicester, or you know what I mean, like that might have played a part in the price. Why was no one else in for him? Because a lot of no disrespect to Spurs, and Toby hates it when I disrespect him like that. But it's true though. A lot of big clubs were looking for a lot of a creative player, including Liverpool, maybe, possibly.
Yeah, I think
Man United, possibly. This guy's been
but Man United don't do anything well, so there's no point trying to use rationale or logic to work out their decision making. But the thing is with Maddison, I was listening to a stream earlier actually, and I do think there's a bit of not that many teams play with a number 10, and I think that's true. I'm not saying he necessarily does with Spurs, but I think he is a 10. You know, you can work him as a number 8, but I've got to be honest, Grizz knows I've said this from the start. Like, see when everyone says, tweets out, what a surprise this is. This should be a surprise to absolutely nobody. This guy got 90 goals and assists with a relegated team, right? I think the season before he got 20 goals and assists, and that was last year. It was 10 goals and 9 assists, or vice versa. I can't remember. You could tell Leicester's problem wasn't goals last season. It was defensively. They had big liabilities there. It should have been very obvious that this guy was going to smash in a team where either better players allow him the space, or whatever, or it might take up a bit of the pressure on him. He doesn't have to be the main guy, or he ultimately just, when he gets in good positions, he gets given the ball quicker. I just think it was always going to work out. I think it's going to work out even better than anyone could have determined, because how many assists has he got so far? Is it 6 or 7?
So he's got 4 assists in 6 games, and he's got 2 goals.
2 goals, right? So say 6 goals and assists. I think, and I think he's going to get better as well, because I think he actually enjoys having that pressure, if you will, on him to be the main guy. Thanks. And I think as well, the only one for me, it was going to be between Newcastle or Spurs. I think Newcastle will be quite. They will be disappointed, because I think Maddison's next move was, it doesn't matter, but I'm going to be one of the main guys. Now, I understand, of course, I've got Son, and I'm not saying he's the only guy, but I think he wants to be, starts every game, pressure on him. And I think he would have been the same for Newcastle. I think Newcastle were linked with him for a long time. I think they've done a lot of things right, but I do think that's a mistake. But then again, it doesn't mean they would have got him. Spurs might have got him as well. He might have felt that, the new stadium, that team, where they're going for under a new manager, he can be a focal point. I just think it's funny, but if you watch him play football, and if you've watched them at all for the last couple of years, like, people say, well, he's not very physical. But see, when you're that good a footballer and that clever and that good at getting the space, especially number 10, you don't have to be, because you're quicker, you're better than those players. This guy came to play for Aberdeen, right, in Scotland. So if he can play in Scotland, believe me, some of the challenges.
I didn't even know that. He played in Aberdeen.
This is when he was at Norwich, yeah?
Yeah, so I think he was at or it was either Coventry, it was on loan. I get mixed up, but it might have been Norwich, but it was before that. Scored the winning free kick against Rangers, actually. There you go.
Shit.
Yeah, and it had the old way skin. It wasn't the skinhead, it was the, it was like
Mohican.
Boca.
Mohican. It was like that. Yeah,
Oh.
Mohican he had, and but yeah, I remember that, and he was good then. And I watched him at Norwich. I just think he's such a creative player that if you put him
Toby-
on a good team, he's going to create stuff, Chris. And I have to say, guys, I was very shocked that people keep saying, like, oh, I'm so surprised. I just don't see where the surprise comes from. He was always going to bang.
Toby, before you go, and I know you want to go. I
can stay on for longer, Chris.
I think it's fair to say, right? The last, okay, you know what I mean, but good team. I was gonna say great team. You haven't had a great team, but the last time you enjoyed your football and you had a great team, you had a certain Eriksen in your team. 100. I think this guy is the natural successor. I think he's your new, you know what I mean when I say new. I know he's Maddison, but he's replaced Eriksen in that role where you don't overly use him in. So, for example, look at his heat map. Guys, how do I get rid of this advert, man? Because I want to show his heat map. Man, you guys know I'm not technical, man. What the hell's going on here? But yeah, basically, look at his heat map, Tobes. He's pretty much everywhere. He's a hard worker. He's a presser. The floor is yours for Maddison because I think he deserves some flowers.
100, man. I mean, you and Conroy, you've literally hit the nail on the head. That's why, like, you saw how happy I was when we signed him on the Big Six, and my tweets about him. Like, I literally tweeted Conroy, like, I prayed for this. Like, I prayed for this. I've been like, I've got tweets dating back to 2020, 2019, begging Spurs to sign this guy, sign James Maddison, sign this guy. He's a baller. He's a baller. Last season, we were linked with him. Conte said no to him. The season before, we were linked with him. For whatever reason, we didn't sign him. So for me, Grizz, he is the successor to Eriksen without 100%. A shadow of a doubt. Like, he's the creative hub in our team. He's 26 years old now, so he's stepping into a leadership role now in the team. That's why he's been made vice captain by Ange Postecoglou, and everything he brings to our team is just like, there are certain players in our team now in the early stages of Ange Postecoglou's reign where if they go down, it sends a negative ripple effect throughout the team, and he is one of those players. If he is not in this team, we look a completely different side, and that's just testament to the quality of player he is. Like you said, he's picking up the ball in the first phase, the second phase, as well as the damage he inflicts in the third phase. All this notion about him not working hard enough. He's a ridiculously hard-working player. He covers so much ground, right? And the skill when he gets on the ball as well, his pass selection, his ability to beat players, and even his ball carrying this season. Like, he's shown us that he can do everything that we need him to do so far this season. And then the main reason why we signed him at the top end of the pitch, you see the difference he makes. Last week against Arsenal, it was a tough game. He's up against one of the best defensive midfielders in the league in Declan Rice. And the moment he's able to make the impact for Spurs, he makes it to devastating effect. And that's why we spent the money. So for me, I think he's the signing of the summer, simply because of the price we paid versus the player we received. It just doesn't make sense. For me, minimum, he's an 80, 90 million pound player, minimum in this market. And the fact that we've been able to get him for 45 million, it's a snip, man. It's a snip. A lot of people want to put the relegation on him. Oh, he's been relegated. What the hell does that mean? You're blaming one player for a relegation? Just use football with your eyes and look at the role he's going to play for Tottenham and tell me where he's lacked in that role for Leicester. It didn't make any sense. It did not make any sense to me.
Look, there's absolutely no doubt. I agree with you. Look, you're going to push Maddison propaganda, of course, for player of the season. We're going to push.
You're going to push Sabazla? Yeah?
You already know. But you're right. Both have made positive impacts. And we're going to get onto the Liverpool section in the next few minutes. Guys, don't forget to like. Don't forget to like. Over 300 of you guys in here. Like, share, subscribe your quality channel as you continue to get brilliant content on a consistent basis. Thank you very much for that, man. Big Six for life, 100%, man. Thank you very much, Big Six Diamond. You're a diamond geezer or a lady. I don't know, actually. Don't know. I want to talk about, for me, Tobes, it's like wheeling out names, Spurs, man. When was the last time we ever done this? And you already know my feelings about this guy. This guy is for me, he's up there, man. I don't care what anyone says. You can throw all the names you want at me, right? I know he had an off season last season. whatever reasons, personal, whatever. We're not going to get into that. Formation change. The manager didn't like him. Personal problems, injuries. He put it all to the side. What's changed about this guy? Ange believes in him. Ange gives him the more responsibility because this guy will be one of the difference makers tomorrow, in my opinion.
100. The only thing that's changed is faith.
Okay.
The faith from the manager in Bissouma. When Ange Postecoglou first came in, he said from day dot, this guy, he's going to be one of my most important players because he has tremendous quality. And this is the feeling that I had last summer when we signed Bissouma. You saw my video. I was delighted that we were able to get Bissouma over the line because for me, he came into the team and at the time, he would have come in my opinion, as our best midfielder because I think he's better than Bentancur and I definitely think he's clear of Højbjerg. But the difference between last season and this season is last season, he was playing for a manager who was basically making him jump through hoops to play football, right? Kept coming out in the media and saying that he's not ready. Conte, it got to a point where I was so frustrated with Conte and his insistence on not using Bissouma. He would overutilize the likes of Højbjerg and Bentancur, and you've got a midfielder right there. You didn't want to play him. And I feel like the style of play combined with the lack of trust, combined with the injuries, it just didn't make for a good enough environment for Bissouma. But we always knew that Bissouma is still Bissouma. He just needs a regular run of games, injury-free, playing the style that he wants to play. Because you can't shackle Bissouma. You can't tell Bissouma, you stay in here and your job is only to break up play. Like
so what is his flag? Because from this heat map, you can't tell. From this heat map, it tells me he's your all-round, what they call an old school. Do you remember old school, just centre mid? Like old school. Like, you play two in midfield and both of them can do everything. This guy looks like he's one of those that you put in midfield in a two and you both tell him to just play it smart, take turns in defending, take turns in attacking, and just be everywhere. And that heat map tells me he's everywhere.
Yeah. So I think with him, he's got the responsibility to be our chief sort of destroyer, if that makes sense. So he's playing at the base. So he's the first port of call to help with our defense, right? Help protect the defense. But he's also the one that picks up the ball deep from the centre backs and initiates our attack. And I think the difference between last season and this season is with Conte, he wanted his midfielders to be very, very fixed, very, very particular about what he wants from his midfielders. He don't want his midfielders deviating from that. With Bissouma, you need to give him a little bit of a free license to roam because he's got the quality to suck players in and then beat those players and open up the pitch, open up the game for our team. So you've seen him do that, right? You see him pick up the ball from our centre-backs, initiate attacks. You see him block shots at the edge of our box, win tackles at the edge of our box. But you also see him beat players on the halfway line, dribble into the final third, make the short passes from A to B. So he's a player who wants as much of the ball as possible. And I feel like with Bissouma in our team, especially with the introduction of Papi Matar to also help in the defensive phase, we have given, or Ange Postecoglou has given Bissouma the license and freedom to play the number 6 role the way he wants to play it. He can't play it the way Conte wants to play it, where you're just sat there and you just do two things. He wants to do a bunch of things. And what annoys me the most about this is Bissouma has the skill set to play in a two-man midfield. He's got 100%. The energy, he's got the dribbling, he's got the defensive acumen. Like, he's got the qualities that you want to play in a two-man midfield, right? Yet we had a manager who didn't want to play him in a two. But it's okay. No problem, no hard feelings. I'm just happy that Ange Postecoglou believes in him. And I think belief is the one thing that's driving Bissouma now.
We spoke about Bissouma a lot, didn't we, Conroy? When he was leaving Brighton, we thought, wow, he's so made for Liverpool. Even at that time, we were crying out for someone like Bissouma. And obviously, we'll come on to our boys. But you wary of Bissouma?
Yeah, I think we all forgot about the potential this guy has last season. I think I did as well. I think it became the forgotten man, if you know what I mean, especially like you mentioned the way Conte played. Again, probably not a coincidence that Potter at Brighton, that type of expression as well, to play good standard of football, confident, be brave, similar to Postecoglou. Not exactly the same, but you know what I mean, the philosophy of football similar. Again, This guy, you talk about, you said be brave earlier, Toby. This guy is brave as anything. He's at the Emirates and he wants the ball. Two midfielders, I think, two forwards pressing him. Second half, wants it. I think he does a 1-2 with Porro, starts the attack, and then basically those midfielders are gone. He's press resistant, he's away, and you're on attack, and they're on the back foot now. He's the definition of if Postecoglou's looking at his team, he's like, I need someone who can really, really instill the game plan I have and hurt teams. And I think he's superb. I honestly think we just forgot how good he was, because at Brighton, you've seen what he can do. And what age is Bissouma, Toby?
He's 25. I think he's 27. 27.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this guy, yeah, we talk about Rodri. Rodri's the best. Yeah. Rodri's the best. But Bissouma, I think this season the way he started it, and I just think he can do so much. You just mentioned it there. I don't think he's limited at all. I think tomorrow I would be, because he's performed at Anfield before for Brighton as well. It's not as if it's, he's never turned up against Liverpool, and I think he's very pivotal to them, just like Maddison is. And again, I think he potentially could be in the team of the season or up there, Bissouma, this year, because I think he's been so. We all talk about the attack and the highlights of the game, but I just think he is showing what a player he can be.
We were gonna do a combined 11, but our chat, and I knew our chat's gonna, because look, when we get serious, we know how to talk football. So I knew our chat's gonna take over. So we're not gonna do a combined 11, but there's a very good question, and I think it can be thrown at both of us.
Yeah,
we're gonna use this question for both teams. A question for Chris and Conroy: who are you taking out that Spurs starting 11 to come into that Liverpool starting 11 to strengthen the Liverpool team? And then we want to throw that back at Tobes as well. Cool. Conroy, 2 players from that Spurs team that strengthens us, or you take basically.
Bissouma straight away, because we just mentioned in general, like defensive midfield in certain games in transition. I think he would help there. It doesn't mean a direct replacement for McAllister, Grizz. I mean,
of course it doesn't. No, but you can, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I think he is. I think, Grizz, you've always been a fan. I think we all know how good he's Premier League proven as well. The other ones where it gets, I would take Maddison. It's quite obvious, but what I would do is I would change it, so it'd be maybe imagine a 4-2-3-1. So I'd have to take a forward out probably. So if you're asking me right now, it's a hard one. So I'd say Jones for Bissouma. I'm not going to take Szoboszlai off. I'd keep McAllister.
You don't have to. Don't feel obliged that you have to.
I'm not going to take Szoboszlai. If it was anyone, I'd take McAllister out. McAllister's been more inconsistent than Szoboszlai.
Don't feel obliged, because I don't feel obliged that I have to.
No, Maddison's been far too good this season. We can't be blind.
So who are you taking out for Maddison then? Because you're the one who's taking him in. So I think I'm thinking too much on the start of the season and not the overall, and we don't really operate a 10 much. So I think for me it's just Bissouma. But Bissouma would get in. I'm not going to have this Curtis Jones would get in over Bissouma. He wouldn't. Let's be realistic here, right? The only 2 midfielders to start definitely would be Szoboszlai and McAllister, but Bissouma would 100% get in mine. I'm going to be very controversial here.
I know what you're going to say.
No, you don't. But you don't. But things going to be very angry with what I'm about to say. There's a little hint. But I'm thinking long term. You know me, I'm a football man.
I know what you're going to say, Grizz.
You don't know. I'm thinking long term. I'm thinking ahead. I'm thinking future. I'm taking Bissouma all day long, no doubt about it. 100% Bissouma.
Grizz, I know what you're going to say.
You don't know, man. Trust me, you don't. Trust me, you don't.
I promise you I do.
Trust me, you don't. So I'm taking Bissouma. I'm taking Bissouma and I'm taking Udogie.
I told you. I knew what you were going to say, Udogie.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. That's why I even did the LB.
I'm taking Udogie because Robertson, of course, is a legend. And I rate Robertson more than anyone. And anyone that tries to slander Robertson, we have a automatic defense mechanism, right, Conroy?
It's called me. That's
because he's a bad boy. He's a bad boy. Yeah. But Udogie was on the verge of being the next bad boy, and I want to secure the left back berth for years to come. Bissouma and Udogie would make this Liverpool team. I'm talking next 5 years. I mean, imagine the age. Udogie's 23, Tobes. something like that.
20 years old. 20 years old.
Yeah,
So we'd have Trent. We'd have Trent. We'd have
20,
Trent, 24 or however he is, right?
Yeah.
Konate, young youth. Kwanzaa, young youth, and then Odogi. That would be our back four for 5 years, eyes closed.
Well, what about Mickey? That's what some of the comments.
Yeah, Mickey van der Ven for Van Dijk would have been an option, and I would have thought about it, but I'm waiting for a better centre back. I rate Mickey van der Ven, but I'm waiting for someone better. I just think Odogi's potentially ceiling is world class. Tobes, you're not obliged to, but two players from Liverpool. Now, I know back in the day you would have taken 7, 8.
Can I pick more or
exactly? Normally you would pick more, but no, two only. Two only.
Okay, 2.
This is hard. Is it hard?
So one is obviously Mo Salah. Mo Salah walks into this team easy, hands down. I'm taking him on that right flank. Elite. Just top draw player. And then the second one, the reason why I wanted more than 2 is because Trent, for me, has to get in this team, in this inverted role, this inverted system we play.
Very quickly, we're going to come on to that. Sorry. Carry on, sorry.
Yeah, so I like Pedro Porro, and I'm really happy with Porro, but Porro is doing what Trent has been doing for years. Maybe not so much inverted, but going forward, the passing, the playmaking, goals, assists, Trent is the benchmark. That's the benchmark for this type of fullback. So for me, I'll go with Trent. But the reason why I was contemplating 2 or 3 is because I was struggling. I wanted to go with Luis Diaz. For me, Luis Diaz on that left-hand side. I just feel like in this system, he's quality, man. I'm sorry. He is quality. Like his ability to just beat players from a standing position, his energy, and now his hunger for goals. Like, I really feel I'm scared. He's one of the players I'm scared of tomorrow. I'm really scared of him because I feel like he's someone who can make something out of nothing for Liverpool. And I've seen him do that way too many times now for me to not acknowledge that this guy is a serious threat.
Someone's saying, have you forgotten
Alisson? That's why I said, can I pick more than 2?
I know, I get it.
Alisson Becker, of course, every day of the week. That's why I said, can I pick more than 2?
I get it segues into our final segment. If we look at tomorrow's predicted lineups, we go with you first, Tobes.
Yeah.
Any changes that I was intrigued to see who's going to play on that left. I thought Richarlison might come up front and Son go out to the left, but this caption suggests that it's Solomon. What's your thinking that it's going to be?
I feel like he'll go with what you said. I think he'll go with Richarlison up top and we'll put Sonny on the left. Reason being because I feel like because of the way Liverpool play and with Trent being inverted, I feel like that there's going to be a lot of space on that left-hand flank, and I feel like Son, he operates well in that space. I think he doesn't play like a winger nowadays because he just can't do the 1v1 thing, but I feel like there will be some joy for him to exploit, so I can see that. And obviously Brennan Johnson would have been the one to come in.
Yeah, unfortunately he's out.
He's injured. But I wouldn't be surprised if Solomon starts and Son plays through the middle because obviously Son has now scored like 5 goals in 3 games through the middle. So I wouldn't be surprised, but at the same time, I wouldn't also be surprised if I saw Richarlison starting this game. But other than that, I think the team will remain as is.
Are you comfortable with the way you guys have been set up this week, this season? Like you're used to playing 5 at the back and all sorts, and now you're settled on this 4 at the back. Who plays the inverted out of Porro? That's what I was going to ask you, and you kind of answered it before I asked you. But out of the 2 fullbacks, who plays the more reserved role, so to speak, or inverted, and who's the more overlapping one?
So they both still play an inverted role, but I would say in terms of overlapping, we've seen Destiny overlap and underlap more than Porro has this season. It's not to say that Porro doesn't do it, but Destiny's done it on that side, and I feel like we've had a lot of joy where we've had like a a combination of Destiny, Son, and James Maddison combining in that left-hand side. And I feel like we might see that tomorrow, which is why I feel like he might move Son out on the flanks.
Conroy, taking into consideration what Toby said, I've got a feeling he's going to put out Son as well and play Richarlison through the middle. I think it makes them a far more potent attacking threat. But on the flip side for us, I think it gives us a bit more chance to exploit, because Son, as hardworking as he is, Maddison, as hardworking as he is, they're not going to want to keep tracking back with, especially Mohamed Salah, Szoboszlai, and a Trent right side of ours, which is without doubt our strength. How do you see that? Do you think they're going to go with the more disciplined Solomon and leave Son, who's been a revelation through the middle? And then going on to R1, is there anything that you disagree with this? I think the only debate on R1 is who plays alongside Virgil. Is it Khanage, who played a full 90 minutes in midweek and Matip was rested, or does he bring back Matip? That's the two questions.
First one, Grizz, no worries. I think, Toby's always got more knowledge in this. If I'm looking at it just from a rational point of view, you went to the Emirates, probably definitely a stadium where, you've failed to turn up, and you played Son centrally, and you caused Arsenal a lot of problems. The first equaliser is the perfect example of, he's in the box. Like, it's a striker, it's a number 9's finish. I always think it's defenders talking about, if it's a Richarlison, say Khanate is like, that's what a Khanate would want, or Van Dijk would want, because they're going to win that match. I might be wrong, he might score, but you know what I mean, you know what you're getting. Whereas I think Son will drop into spaces and take him out of areas, and then it'll allow Maddison to get on the ball. I just think because they've done it so well last week, that I just think it would be, I understand the logic in changing it, but I would be surprised if they change it. I think Son will play centrally. From our point of view, what you said, Grizz, if he doesn't, then yeah, we probably got the advantage there because of our kind of ability in midfield to especially press, but especially the way we can play out and not overload as much, but get them in transition if they maybe lose the ball, because they're going to be brave, and that's fair enough. But I think he will play centrally, and I think Son's got such a good record, and he's so good at timing his runs.
Oh, he's guaranteed to score tomorrow.
Yeah, 100%. It's only because Alisson's pulled off like 3 wonder saves that he's not scored even more at Anfield, to be perfectly honest. From our point of view, I think it has to be Khanate, to be honest, Chris. I think, I love Matip, and as you know, I do. But again, let's not forget, it's been a few games. This is one of the biggest games of the season. I'd say 2 top 4, definitely 2 top 6 rivals going into this. It's a massive game. Both had great starts to the season. It could really, really, we both want to win, obviously, like every game, but it's a huge game. I think you need to go with Khanate. I just think Khanate very rarely makes a mistake. He might have moments here and there, but 9 times out of 10, as you know, this guy's one of the best young talented centre-backs in the world. I just think you play him, you don't take any chances. I will say this, it's maybe a bit strange that he played the full 90, but then again...
It's bugging me, Conroy.
But Nunes and they've done that a couple of weeks ago, didn't they? Or they've done like back-to-backs in the Europa League, so it's not unheard of. But if I'm Toby and Matip's playing, I am, and I could be wrong.
Eyes are lighting up.
I'm thinking that I think if Khanate is, you're like, here we go. It's like he's a good centre back. He's probably he could win this battle. But if it's Matip, I would be highlighting that as an area of weakness, because he has done well. But just look at what Neto done to him a couple of weeks ago. Like, he's not the same player he was. I mean, it's not rocket science. Time catches up with everybody, and he's at that stage now. So
you're good. My bad. The only thing about Matip playing, guys, right, is I think because of the Son running power and Kulusevski as well. Kulusevski's got quite good running power, Tobs. Am I right? He's quite a good, powerful runner. Yeah. I think we may play deeper than normal, Conroy. Okay. And I think if we play deeper, Matip suits that role more. Matip alongside Virgil would be more suited to luring Spurs in, because it's just a feeling and a hunch. I've got a feeling we're going to try to do the rope-a-dope on Spurs. We know their manager is very front foot. We know they like to press high. Do you press high, Tobs? Do you play a
We do.
offside trap that's quite risky, and sometimes you think, yo, calm down with that offside line.
To be fair, we've managed it well in how we sort of structure our press and the line, because I feel like even though we do play a high line, we protect ourselves relatively well because we have either strong 1v1 profiles now in defense in Destiny, Romero and Van de Ven, or we have Van de Ven who can help for the recovery pace, or we have the likes of Papi Matasar who help us track runners, Bissouma who help us track runners as well. So yeah.
I think that's going to be key. Look, I agree with you, Conroy. It has to be Konate. Even though I praised Matip and he humbled me last week because I cussed him all season, and he's putting a couple of bad.
He's still like he's a good. He's a at his peak. He's a great player. So like he's obviously got it in his head, but it's like, come on, it's like you got young players or even like
he hasn't got the legs. Look, let's not beat around the bush. He hasn't. If Son or Kulusevski get him on one-on-one, it's over, right? But that's what I mean. It's got to be about the position on how we rope them in. If we're playing a deeper role, then I think he trusts Matip. He trusts Matip's reading of the game more than Konate. But if we're playing our normal aggressive high line, it has to be Konate, because otherwise, for me, is the difference between a draw and a win. If Konate, I'm confident of a win.
Yeah.
If it's Matip, I'm
apprehensive.
I'm apprehensive. Yeah.
I think with it, for me, I'm sort of licking my lips. I'm licking my lips, and I'm like, yeah, I would much rather prefer Matip, because I feel like Matip, we will tear. I'll be real, we'll tear him apart with our fluidity. Whereas Konate, listen, Grizz, we were both at the game last season. Konate was absolutely immense in the game last season. Like, it was crazy.
Barring 2-3 games, Tobes, he's been like that. All the other defenders, and we've cussed every single centre back of Liverpool: Gomez, Virgil van Dijk, Robertson. We've cussed Trent. This guy is the only one who's performed at an impeccable level, barring 3-4 games where he's going to get 3-4 games where he's caught out because there was no midfield, because the rest of his defenders were playing crap. He's my number one go-to guy right now. Virgil has been showing levels again. I must admit, Virgil will never be back to his best, because at his best, he was top 5 centre-backs of all time in the Premier League. At his peak, that's how good Virgil was. He will never get back to those levels. But Virgil has been back. I think he's set up for an amazing game, guys. I think we've done a fantastic job of hyping it up. We were going to do a combined 11, but, I find combined 11s a bit, whatever.
I think, end of the season, you should maybe do like a 10-minute special combine, because that'll be interesting at the end of the season to combine 11.
Yeah, no, you're right. 6 games in, it's difficult, but we can. It would still have been fun to do a comparison. We could have done what we could have done was a combined 11 now, and then for the Anfield fixture, see if anything's changed or we would change anything. But Toby, we know our predictions. We've done it on the Big Six. You're going to be at the game tomorrow. I'm going to be at the game tomorrow. Both teams are. What will it mean to you guys? Let the viewers know. What will it mean to you guys to get 3 points tomorrow in terms of belief and what's your target? How does it change your target in your mind?
So I don't think winning tomorrow will change our target. My target for Spurs was to try and get back into the top 6, playing a new style and go deep in the cup runs. We've already failed in the League Cup, so I want like a deeper cup run in the FA Cup. But the priority for me is to get back into the top 6, and I even went for 5th for the Big Six. So my target is to try and get back into potentially Champions League qualification with the new Champions League setup that takes effect from next season, depending on how the English teams perform this year. But for me, just on a personal note, like this result will mean a lot, man, because our record, you saw me going off yesterday, Grizz. Our record against Liverpool is rotten. I've seen us play really bad and get battered. I've seen us play reasonably okay and lose. I've seen us play good enough to win and still not win. So for me, especially in this new ground where we've never beaten Liverpool, I need us to sort of get that monkey off our back. So I need us to win. And I'm not saying we're going to battle Liverpool. I think it's going to be a very close game in the end, but I've got confidence that we'll win tomorrow.
Conroy, what will it mean to us if we get a win? And what is your actual prediction?
I think it, like I said before, both teams have started the season exceptionally well. I think I'd said to you before this, these next 3 games, Spurs away, Brighton away, Everton at home. If we can get through that with 7 points, 7 to 9, but I'll take 7. It would be a long way to judging what we can do this season. Again, just game by game, but giving us that platform and that confidence. So for me, I think it's a huge game. I think Spurs will get Champions League. I think they'll be in that top 5 this year. So I think this is a top 5 rival. And it's huge for us to get a result. Because I think it's like we're kind of every week we're like, we're talking about it. But I think if we can get 7 to 9 points from these games, it really is a statement of what we can do this season. So yeah, for me, that would be massive. Result-wise, guys, I'm thinking it's kind of Newcastle versus Liverpool vibes, to be honest. Kevin Keegan era. When I'm looking at this game, watch this. It'll be a 0-0 stalemate.
I can't see that. I can't see that. Yeah.
I think this could be. Sounds a bit mad. Maybe I'm hyping it too much. I think this week.
Do it. It's not like you to get carried away. Get carried away.
No, I think I never actually see a game going 3-2. Like I never actually. See
I know you don't. That's what I mean.
It doesn't actually work that way. Usually it's like a 2-1 or a 3-1 usually, or a 2-2. Because usually either way, 3-2s don't usually happen. But for this one, I'm feeling like it might be a blockbuster tomorrow, so I'm going to go for 3-2 Liverpool. I'm not saying it will work in that way, that it might be 2-0, 2-1, 2-2, 3-2, 3-1, 3-2. But I think it could be up there because I just think Spurs have proven that I was going to swear there, but I'll stop swearing on the streams. But I was going to say that I just think they don't care. Like they went to Emirates and they just don't care. Like you can think what we're going to do. All the pundits, we don't care. This is what we're doing. This is unified. This is how we're playing. And
but this is my point. But this is my point. I'm intrigued, guys. Tomorrow,
I'm intrigued
because I think tomorrow will be the first. I think a lot of people have woken up to Spurs after the Arsenal performance, right? And I think all eyes will be on Ange now to see how he performs against or how he sets up against. I think even Toby said it on the Big Six, probably the potent attack in Europe right now with our strikers, our 5. Any 3 of those could play and we'd be calm with it. We'd be okay with it. And I'm intrigued in terms of how Ange sets up and see if there's any sort of backing off, because I don't think there will be. And that's what it makes it mad, because I don't think he will take a step backwards, especially after the second half against Arsenal. I'm intrigued. I can't wait tomorrow.
I think the only thing to add, Grizz, the one difference I would say, as I said at the start of the season, I think it's quite clear now. Last week, Arsenal brought in Eddie and Keita to get them back when they're pushing. Our attack and attacking depth is probably the best in the league or up there. That's a different story. With 20 minutes to go, if we're bringing Gakpo, Gravenberch on, like the attack we've got there to influence the game, I think that's better than Arsenal, to be perfectly honest. So I think that'll be interesting. But I think it's.
The predictions have been like minimum 4 goals and shit, man.
What was your prediction, Grizz and Toby? What were your prediction?
I said
3-2.
Yeah, Toby said 3-2. I said 2-0 because they pissed me off.
We ain't getting a clean sheet, Grizz. I'll give you them. I'll tell you.
I know, but they pissed me off in it. They pissed me off. Him and Said got to me, and I ended up saying 2-0. But listen. Mad shit happens, bro. I'm telling you, mad shit happens. I can't wait tomorrow. Either way, it won't decide either of our seasons, but 100% it will be an indicator for the rest of our season. If our unbeaten run comes to an end tomorrow, fair dues, man. We go again. Brighton away the following week, we can make up for it. If Spurs lose, they won't think, all right, we've lost to Spurs and Liverpool. No biggie. We'll go again. But performance levels will be in, key, I think. Because
Yeah.
then if Spurs match us and, play against us, they know that we can match Liverpool, a resurgent Liverpool. And vice versa. If we go to a resurgent Spurs because tomorrow's crowd won't give up on Spurs. That's another thing Angie's got on this side now. They won't give up on Spurs. Even if they go behind, they will stay with him. And if we can come away getting a result, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to be loud. I'm going to be loud and I'm going to be proud. And so is Toby. We have been brilliant. I've really enjoyed the chat. There's been no shit chatting. It's been good chatting. People, guys, if you like the stream, if you like the content, smash a like button. That's all we ask for. Even if you don't like us and you've just been here just because you're haters, still like the like button on your way out, man. We love haters. We love lovers. Toby, nice one, bro. You know what I mean? We speak soon, as we say. Speak soon, my brother. Very, very soon.
Speak tomorrow. See you there.
Yeah, speak tomorrow. Conroy, hopefully Red Fellas is an enjoyable show on Sunday. And guys, that has been Pre-Match Khanage. I haven't done a preview in a long time, but I had to be done with my brother Toby, my brother Conroy. All the best. Over and out. Peace.